Hey, welcome to Frontline Christian Church. This is Rodney Hogan, and this is our, um, I believe, our end of month in last installment on our finance classes that we have. I think we've been having a good time discussing kind of finances and talking about some opportunities and different things that we can do. So we're gonna dive right back in to what we're doing. So we spoke briefly before we talked about income. We talked about some spending. We talked about how we kind of need to look at our expenses before, so we can kind of clearly kind of know what we can address versus what we can't. Things that are mandatory versus discretionary, and we started talking about some tools before, some tools that you could use, which we looked at the cool like the credit card tools, a couple credit tools you can use just to get a baseline for where you are, and and now I think today we'll spin this a couple different ways. We'll talk about um, some opportunities when it comes to savings and some saving strategies that you can use. We'll talk about some investing tools, specifically some ways that we can utilize tools, because as I tell you, investing is easier than it's ever been in the history of the world. Honestly, that's true. And then if we get some time, we'll talk about our last slide. But what I wanted to make sure we did today was to have some time for some questions, because I know we've been talking about a lot of different things. So what I would say is you can start preparing your questions and posting them in the comments. And once you do that, I'll leave ample amount of time for us to look at those questions and talk and speak to those questions. So let's jump right in then. So one of the things that I think is important, and specifically when it comes to spending and expenses and just income in general, is this, I guess, the story that or the statement that I always tell my children. And I think I've already said it on here, but the best, the good money is money that you keep in terms of a savings plan. So I think it's important to develop a savings plan, and it's never, sometimes we view savings plans as almost a negative thing if you're not saving a lot of money. But when it comes to saving, it's more than just the money that you're saving that you're building. And I think that's the thing that you have to remember when it comes to putting getting your savings going. It's just not the money. And sometimes we just think maybe it's $5, maybe it's $10. That means nothing. It's really the discipline that comes with the savings. Because if you can't save $5, if you have 5,000, you're not gonna save it. And if you have 50,000, you're not gonna save it. You got 5 million, you're not. You think you will, but you won't. You'll. So it's important when it comes to a saving strategy to understand that it's those two. It's that discipline principle at work when you're trying to save money. So it's important. Look at what you have. Look at what you make. Determines some reasonable amount of money you can save based on what you make, even if it's just 5%, even if it's something that's fairly small. It's I think you have to try to work that process to create the discipline you need, because that discipline will allow you to make better financial decisions long term. So ways you can do it, just simple ways, and just kind of a strategy that I use um, on my accounts for the I have usually with my accounts I have, you know, a checking account, I have a savings account, and then I have a additional savings account, which is like a money market savings account that I have, because typically a money market savings account will allow you to make a higher interest on the money that you save, which is important because as you're sitting money there, it's better if it's earning more than just sitting kind of in a standard savings account. So one of my suggestions would be for everyone to have that. You start looking at whoever your institution is, and it shouldn't cost you any money. Typically, those are not. Typically, those are not accounts that cost. They're typically accounts that are free. They just have to have a certain minimum, or they just operate like a normal savings account. So some of them have, some of them have like $1,000 minimum or $500 minimum, or something to that extent. And when you when you operate by that and use that tool, you just make higher interest. But remember that the importance of taking the time and save. I mean, a lot of times when because I'm typically with me, I'm always having conversations with my young ones about money, because I'm always trying to express to them, how they need to view it. And a thing that's always discussed is you just make better decisions if you spend a little time saving your money. You will clearly make a better decision when you spend, no matter what. So if you get in a discipline of even just putting $10 up a month, when you go to spend that, if you're putting $10 up a month and you do it for 6 months and it's only $60, I almost guarantee you're going to make a better decision at the 6 month mark than if you had $60 in your account and it was the first month, or you had it in your account for 1 week and you made a decision. So some of it just teaches you discipline with your finances. It's not always just about that amount, but a good strategy for saving is look at every tool that you have. You have a standard savings account. You have a standard money market account that's almost free. You have like a 401k account that I think everybody has that at their job. If you work a job, typically you have something to that extent available to you. And with those tools, I think those, specifically a 401k, sometimes you hear negative stuff about a 401k. You kind of hear different stuff back and forth. I hear people say, "Oh, you shouldn't have that," but I think the important thing you have to realize usually your company does match your percentage that you put in. So if you put in 3%, you put in 6%, your company matches it. Over time, the 401k becomes a resource for you, because then you can use it. You can use it in your business endeavors if you want to show, well, you don't want to put it up for collateral, but you want to show what you have available by means of paying back. You can use it as that type of tool. You can use it as a tool to borrow stuff if it was necessary. Hopefully not to try to buy a car or nothing and just waste your money. But it's a pretty good tool, and most businesses have it. So I would say at your job, you want to check. That's just a good place. That's just a good thing to do for savings. Now, I know we're going to spend some time answering some questions, but I want to talk just briefly about investing. And I think that the investing opportunities that you have right now is probably some of the best that we've ever had. Now, I went to school in the I started school in the 90s and the 2000s is when I went to school, and it used to be so difficult for us. And I think I may have mentioned this. I may have mentioned this to you before. How difficult it was to invest and to invest any money. And we had to go, and you had to have like A1 credit, and you had to set up a brokerage account, and then you could load money into a brokerage account, and then that's the way you could buy stock through that brokerage account. And you typically needed to have the money to do it. Simple, and it's that simple, right? If you were buying some Berkshire Hathaway, you'd have to have $35,000 or whatever the cost of their stuff is. You would have to have that in your brokerage account to buy it. And who has money like that? Not a lot of people when you're first starting off. Well, it's pretty good tools. Like I mentioned on here, I think I put Robinhood on here. I think that one is a really good. It's a really good tool to have, and I would suggest that everyone pull that app down and put it on your phone, put it on your computer, because it's so many. It's so many opportunities you can have by. Oh, sorry about that. It's so many opportunities that you can have using that tool. And I'll give you an example. Typically we wouldn't get out and tell people, buy this stock, buy that stock. You wouldn't do that over you wouldn't do that over social media because you're just not supposed to do it. But what I can tell you guys is, with this tool, and if you go to utilize this tool, you will find that you can go in with $10, $5, $2, and you can buy a fractional percentage of stock, of any stock that exists. So what it allows you to do is it's not just stock, but you can look at different type of funds that it has, which means and I find it interesting too that you can just go in here and you can look and say, is it a fund that's just a NASDAQ? Is it a fund that's just the S&P 500? Is it a fund that's just the whole market in general, the whole stock market fund? Which means you now have very easy opportunities, and you don't have to spend tons of money to start your investment. So I think I put an exchange. I think I put an exchange trading fund on there. That means you don't have to be a ETF. That means you don't have to be an expert. That's what that means. If you're wondering what ETF is on my screen, that means you don't have to be an expert. That means you can look and you can find where the opportunities are, and you can invest. Now, let's say you say, well, hey, Rod, you may say something like, well, Rod, I don't know what you're talking about. I just want to buy Amazon. And what I would say to you is it's just as simple as us having this conversation. And if I could show this, I'm sorry I don't have a plug up to be able to show this, but you could easily go and invest $10 in Amazon, invest $5 in Amazon, invest $20 in Amazon, and you could build it up over time if you wanted to look for opportunities to invest. And it's such a great tool because it just doesn't cost you any money to have it. So there's no money to have it, no money to have it on your phone. You just you can load up, some money into there to the tool, and you can start buying stocks, bonds, ETFs, anything you want to buy. And you can buy it fractionally, so you could buy whatever you want, pretty much. And those are, and what I was explaining to you, like, we never could do that for years. That was just not available to just the average person typically to do. So a tool like that is an awesome tool when you want to start investing and you say, hey, I'm saving up $100 or I'm saving up $50 a month, and then you say, hey, what if I want to start investing this money? How can I do it? That is a great tool you can use and manage. It has all type of reporting and all type of great things on there, so you can look at every stock, everything you want to buy. You could spend time searching it, researching it, look at it. I think it's even got opportunities for you to it even has opportunities for you to say, well, what if I bought this stock? What if I buy these stocks? And then you can still watch that. You can watch that for 2 or 3 months and see, did this thing grow? Did it not grow? Would I have gained money? Would I have lost money? It has so many tools on there to help the average person. So that allows you, to me, that's the best tool to get in an investing game that exists right now. I mean, to me, it's the easiest one, and it's the best one to use. So if you're looking for, how do I invest? How do I do it? How can I even be conservative with it? That's the tool, because maybe you just want to spend $10. Maybe you just want to invest $20. Maybe you're not willing to buy $1,000 stock, but maybe you're willing to pay $10 for a fractional piece of the stock. And then if it grows, it might grow to $10.50. Mm-hmm. And then you gain a little something. But that's a very, very, very great tool to use, and it's just a free tool. So if you cut, and your bank probably has a similar tool. Sometimes they have like something, but it's not as robust as the Robinhood. It won't be as robust as that tool, because they're not going to invest that type of money into it, because they're not going to try to compete with a company that only has that focus. But I would say everybody and anybody who's into any level of investing, you want to spend any money, then I would suggest you getting that Robinhood app and just start looking at it. You can probably look at some YouTube videos on it, and you'll probably find some really good stuff. But that one is a great one to me. That's the best one. It changed the entire game of investing. It took it from Wall Street and brokers to just a regular person like me and you, who can put small amounts of money in it and make some return. Now I want to stop there, because I think last week when we were talking, somebody asked me what oh, good question.
You see that?
I see a question by Johnny Dixon. It says, will you be teaching on how to read investment reports? So that's a good question. I could do that. I don't have a schedule to do right now, Johnny, but that is something that I could do, because I think that would be a benefit to just have a understanding of those reporting. So that may be something I have to add in there. I'll have to add that in there, Johnny. But yeah, I think that would be good. Maybe that would help people too, if they were able to see that. So we'll take a note of that, Johnny, for you. But thanks. I appreciate the question. But again, I got some other questions from people last time that asked me what are some good institutions that you should use. So I wanted to make sure I just spent a little time talking about a few of the institutions, one specifically that I think is really good if you have the opportunity to become a part of it. And that that one would be Navy Federal Credit Union. I think that's one of the. It's actually the largest credit union in the United States, which is kind of funny when you think about it. But it also, in my experience, it offers some of the best member services and financial support. It supports your business well. It supports you personally as a consumer very well. The opportunities that they offer from their home buying opportunities, their mortgage opportunities, their investment purchases, those type of opportunities are great. Vehicle opportunity is also great. They really do a really good job, and they're not heavy. They're not heavy fee based. They're not a heavy fee based group like what you see sometimes. Some of the banks and even sometimes some of the financial institutions are really heavy on fees, but they are not heavy on fees, and I think that it's actually a great institution. In the time I've worked with them, I've found them to have a willingness to really provide for the members there, whether it's personal loans, whether it's credit cards, whatever, all the typical financial tools that you could use. They typically play higher percentage rates on. They play higher percentage rates on their money market accounts. Also, they have some of the lowest interest rates on their credit cards that I think I've seen. Typically, I don't know how much, and hopefully you guys look at your credit cards, and that's probably something else you have to do. Some of us don't know that your credit cards are like variable rate credit cards. So your credit card is not like a flat rate. And it's a lot of credit cards that are like that. It'll be APR plus some variable rate. So it'll be like 10% plus a variable rate that could be, 14%, or it could be 19%. And that's why if you ever look at the paperwork, sometimes if you get a credit cards, you see some range. A lot of times you see it. You say, why is it a range? Because it's variable. And we have a lot of those. Like if you're not paying attention to your credit cards, a lot of times they have that. And that way they can pad if the interest rate goes up, they can charge you more money. That's why it's variable. Right? Interest rate increases, we can now charge you a little bit more money every month. But I have my cards with Navy Federal. I got like a fixed rate. I got like a fixed rate card that doesn't have a variable. I'm definitely saying you should all go for fixed rates, because variable rates just mean exactly what they say. It could cost what it costs today, but it'll probably cost more tomorrow. Now, on the flip side, if the rates go down in this variable rate, then you also get to take that advantage. But that's typically not, and it typically doesn't work like that. So probably over the last 2 years, if you had a variable rate, maybe you were good to some extent, because our rates dropped all the way to like 1% or something like that. But now, I think they moved up significantly since then. So my take on that is that's the kind of institution that you want to work with. I mean, I always say you want to choose a credit union. I think that's important too. I think I mentioned that before because credit unions are nonprofit, so they typically don't nickel and dime you. Some of them do, unfortunately, because they want to be banks. But it's other ones who know their position and stay in those positions, and they're able to be more favorable to you as a consumer and charge you less fees and give you more funding opportunities. So I would suggest that as one that people should look into. If you know, typically you need to either know someone that's already there who can know somebody that's already there that can help you to join the group yourself, or if you have some military people in your family, or you live with some people who are military folks, you can also utilize that as a way to become a part of it. But I think one of the things I want you guys to take away from this class is that it's very important that you understand that everything is not the same. Every banking institution is not the same. Every credit union is not. Every bank is not. Every credit card is not the same. Everything is different, and you have to take the time to look, and you have to take a time to kind of study to see what you're able to do. Because sometimes you can open up a card, and sometimes I have cards where one rate is 9% and one rate is 29%. And I say, well, I can just move this money off this 29% card and put it on this 9% card, and I'd save myself, I don't know, $50 a month or $60 a month or something. We could do the calculator. We could pull out that credit card calculator and see exactly how much you would save between those two. If we just put the same amount of money in on those percentages, you could see what the difference would be. But you could save yourself a significant amount of money by really paying attention to what we have. And I think that's probably the most difficult part, I think, when it comes to finances and understanding our finances, is really taking the time to look at it. Because I think we feel like maybe it gets tedious or something. I see stuff that people are posting that I think is funny. Sometimes we think it's tedious to look at it. We say, oh, I don't want to waste time looking at it. I don't want to know what my credit card percentages are. I don't want to know these things. But that's critical information in order for you to better manage your finances. Because if it's something as basic as one of your cards have, like I mentioned, if one of your cards have 29% and the other one is 20%, I think it's a simple answer when you want to figure out which one you need to use to buy something. So because you're going to take the same amount of money, so do you want to pay more for the money or less? I think it's like it's a simplistic thing. It doesn't even take knowing, everything in depth. You need to have a knowledge of what you have in your pocket, what you have in your wallet. What's in your wallet, like the commercial said. You need to see what in the world is in my wallet. What do I have? What is available to me? What can I use? What saved me the most money? You're going to spend $1,000 and you got 5 credit cards? You should know the impact of what's going to happen if you spend that $1,000 on each one of those cards. You should know. You should know what the cards.
Specify which cards, not with the name, but what type of cards we should get. Because sometimes those ones that the stores offer, like while you're making a purchase, is not the best card. At least that's what I think. But
typically it's not.
Okay, you go to the store, you make a purchase, and they offer you a card in the store, but that card is probably a card that you should not get because the interest is going to be too high, as opposed to applying for a card at the credit union or at your bank. Can you kind of tell us what should we look for, and in terms of credit cards? Besides, I mean, we know we want the lowest interest rate, but how do we get the lowest interest rate? Is it all based on our credit score or what the bank decides to offer us, or would they offer us the higher interest first and give us the lower interest rate later?
Well, typically banks are into selling money at the highest cost that they can sell it. But that being said, you have to look at what each bank is willing to, like when we're talking about banks and credit cards, you need to look at what each bank is trying to sell that money for. Like, what is the percentage? Because it's always a percentage. Before you sign up with somebody, they'll tell you this card is going to be anywhere from 8% to 20%. That just means that's the cheapest we'll sell it to you for. We'll tell you that money. The cheapest we'll sell it to you for is 8%. And the most we'll sell it to you is for 20%. So when you think of banks, you think of you got to pay more attention to those numbers. But I would typically say, for the most part, a bank card is going to be better than a card that you get from the store.
Okay.
Because for the same, and I'll tell you this, for the same, because think about it like this: you're going to go through the same credit check, you're going to go through the same inquiry on your credit for a card that's going to limit you to one place to use it. If you're gonna do that, and you're gonna go through your same credit check and everything like that, you might as well get a card that's more flexible. You may as well get something that's gonna give you an opportunity to do more than just go into TJ Maxx and buy something out of TJ Maxx, or go into Macy's and buy something out of Macy's. It is better for you to have a card that you can buy something in Macy's and Walmart and Kroger and any other place you want to buy. So and I mean, I have cards that are just places, and maybe sometime I think I may have got it just for convenience or something, just to get it, but typically I probably don't use it that much, little or none, because when I think of cards at this point, I think about how much is it going to cost me to spend that money. And then the second thing I think about is what kind of opportunity am I going to get from this card? Because you have to think of yourself. You almost have to flip it up in a sense. It's not really, you're not marrying a card. The card is trying to date you. If that makes sense. You're not married. You're not marrying the card. It's trying to date you. And because it's trying to date you, you want to know, well, what is the opportunity? What's going to be the long-term benefit of this relationship, right? It's kind of that simple. That's what you have to think about when you think about credit cards. What is our long-term relationship going to be? What are you going to offer me that these other cards that want to date me also, what are you going to offer that's better? So I have some cards that may have a higher percentage that I may spend more money on because I have a different strategy on that card because of the benefits that it offers me. Like I may spend more on my American Express card than I do on my Southwest Chase card because my American Express card, if they run a bunch of promotions, right? And they just say, if you buy some groceries, we'll give you $10 back if you buy if you pay for your internet service. We'll give you $10 back. If you anything you purchase, they give you $5 or $10 back on it. So for me, I say, well, I'm not gonna accrue any interest on my card anyway, because I'm just gonna pay it with the card, and then I'm gonna take the money and pay the card off, and not accrue any interest on the card. So then I'm gonna not accrue any interest and try to get $10 back or $5 back on what I purchased. So when you start thinking about it, I think you have to be strategic when it comes to stuff like that. But I say, understand bank cards. Understand. And here's what I tell you. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about credit cards, because I said we were going to open it up for some questions, and we really need to do that. I think when it comes to credit cards, I think we have to just take time to really understand what they offer. You have to really take time to see, because it's possible you have a credit card and you're paying for something out of your pocket that your credit card offers you for free. That happens a lot. Like, you have things that your credit card offers you that don't cost you any money just because you have the card. Mm-hmm. But you just go pay for it because you just don't know that it's available on your card. You have to really take out time to dig into the things that you have to see what they're offering, because they're all competing. All the cards are competing for you. Mm-hmm. You're not technically competing for them. They make it seem like that, but they're really competing for you.
That is a good point.
They're really trying to say, we want you to, because all a credit card is doing is selling you money, right? Right. So the credit card, each card is saying, hey, we want to sell you our money. It's all the same money, but we want to sell you our money. That's what everybody is saying. Mm-hmm. And if it was all the same, then it would just be a credit card, and you would just scan it and keep going. But you never see that. Every time you see a credit card, what do you see? They start saying, we're going to give you frequent flyer miles. We're going to give you 5% on this. We're going to give you 5 times the points. We give you 1% cash back. Why are they doing that? They're just competing. They're competing with the other card holders to try to get you to spend their card. That's why you have to be very, you have to really understand what cards you have and what they offer, so you can just know how to spend them to your best ability, so you get the best things back from your cards.
So it's more than just the face value of the card.
Oh yeah, of course. You want to get free flights. You want free flights. I'm sure I have some free flights on this card. I'm sure on the other card I got some hotels for free.
Gift cards.
Oh yeah, we get gift cards. Who gives us gift cards for free? Oh yeah, I forgot that. They give you gift cards too for free. So I got, if I look, and I'm not gonna hold up any of my cards, but I'm just looking at some of the ones I pulled out here. And the interesting thing about it, different ones do different stuff. The Barclays card, you can spend that at Apple, and usually they allow you to finance your Apple, your Apple purchases through the Barclay card. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna jump on those questions. And then I have this a platinum card that just got a super lowest rate. It's got the lowest rate in the history of any card that I have, which is means you can use it for big purchases, and you can move other things off. I don't know. I think I'm missing a card now because I thought I had a Southwest card in here, but I don't see my Southwest card, so I'm assuming I don't know where that thing is. But you just want to look at every opportunity. Southwest has, and I don't know how I'm gonna get there because they keep sending me things in my email saying if you they keep sending things that say if they'll give me like 5 times the points on everything I spend between April 1st and June 30th. They'll give you 5 times the points, and they're upping the buddy pass points. So if you can get your buddy pass points within a year to $125,000, if you can get to $125,000, then every time you buy a ticket, you get another one for free for the whole year.
That's good.
That's what they offer on that card.
That's Southwest.
Yeah, so if you got that Southwest card, that's what it offers. But you have to spend. But you have to.
The Southwest card. You didn't know.
But you have to spend,
know.
and this is a critical thing. You have to spend a certain amount,
Okay.
and sometimes it's hard. It's sometimes you need that special you need these special you need those special offers that they show you. Like if they say, hey, you get 5 times the points for 2.5 months, you need those 5 times the points to have a shot at hitting the number. And a lot of times, I'm gonna tell you what the strategy is. It's really a simple strategy. The strategy is super simple. Instead of just paying your DTE bill, you just take your card and you pay your DTE bill, and then you take the same money that you were going to spend on your DTE bill and you send it to your card. It's that simple, and you just get the points.
And you building up the Southwest point.
You're building
So
up
you
the
can buy
Southwest point.
anything with the
So you can buy anything as long as you put the money in. You just buy, use your card, pay the money. Use your card, pay the money. The quicker you can pay the money, you won't incur any interest. If you do it the same day, you won't incur any interest. You just pay it, pay the money, pay. So you just get the points, and then you get the other stuff that you can utilize that helps you. Now I'm gonna stop there because we're getting to the last few minutes. I want to answer some of these questions. Okay, let me see what it says. Is research important when it comes to finding a great credit union? Yes, it is. I think that's a really important thing. Research, and it's easy. A good place to start if you want to research is NerdWallet. You can start with that one. You go to nerdwallet.com and you say, hey, what is the best credit union? What is the best bank? What is the best credit card? NerdWallet usually gets you right to the point. It tells you what it has, what it offers, and kind of how it's either better or not better than another. And they usually will rank you a top 5 or 10. What I did, one of the things I did with NerdWallet is from a business perspective, when I wanted to look at who are the best small business banks. And then you go to NerdWallet and they'll show you who the best banks are. And while they're doing that, they outline what it takes to get certain stuff. What do you need for loans? What do you need for lines of credit? You know, what credit scores do you need? Where are they ranked for, SBA loans, small business loans? Are they in the top 10 or in the top 4 or 5 that give out SBA loans to small businesses? So they give you all that information. You can make an informed decision. So I would say that's a great place to start for that first one. I won't answer that second. I won't even speak to that one. Okay. Our secure, I skipped over one. It's secure card. No, go back up to it. Yeah, that one. Are secure credit cards better than unsecured credit cards? I always think unsecured credit cards are better than secured credit cards. And I think here's where you have to. This is where it takes a little research. It's places that will give you, specifically different types of credit unions, will give you unsecured credit cards. Sometimes with people with, like a 480 credit score or 500. It's it's credit unions out there that will do that. And some of them are smaller ones, but you have to do a little research, because I think you always want unsecured cards if you can get them. I think secured cards, they say they're a way of building your credit, but secured card almost looks like, almost like a debit card. It doesn't look, it's not like you're getting credit extended to you truly in that approach. So I would say go to NerdWallet again and check NerdWallet and say, where can I get the best unsecured card for with a low credit score or with bad credit? It will show you those places. Now, another thing about credit cards, and then I'll answer Tiffany's question because I know time is going by. Another thing about credit cards is, and what I found when you do a little research, every credit card does not, they do not check your credit or your FICO score with every single card that exists. Sometimes they check a Vantage score. Sometimes and then sometimes if you have the card and you follow the right steps, if you ask for an increase of credit line, they won't check your credit. Some of my cards that I have won't check your credit when you ask for a credit line increase, which is the reason why I have them, because it functions a little bit better, and you want to be able to strategically get more funds available to you without impacting your credit. So all that stuff is research. All that stuff is you taking out time to just doing a little studying and trying to figure out, what's the strategy. It's a funny strategy with American Express, and it pretty much works all the same. Like almost every 90 days in American Express, you can ask, typically ask for roughly an increase every 90 days of about probably like 3 times whatever your credit limit is. You can do it every 90 days. And if you follow the process and do it, through the site and do it through your card site and log in, they don't check your credit. They don't run an inquiry on your credit anymore to do it. And they typically approve you like almost all the time. Like 90% of the time they approve.
Sometimes won't they just increase your credit score, or those companies that increase without your asking? Just increase regularly without without even asking for it.
They will do that. They will. You have some that do, and they'll just do it. I mean, Chase, Southwest, they'll just do that. They'll just increase you like that. But I would say the majority of them, you have to kind of follow. You have to request it, but you have to kind of follow a little process. So that if you follow the process right, you'll be able to, in a year, you could take a card that had $1,000 on it, and in a year's time, you can turn it to like 27,000. So if you just follow the process, you can grow it. But it's all kind of things that exist that's out there. Now let me answer Tiffany's question. I'm sorry. Let's see what we got, Tiffany. What do you think about online credit cards like PayPal and Amazon? Now, maybe I'm not a huge fan of the PayPal card. I had one and utilized it. Um, the the interesting thing about the Amazon card is the Amazon card is a Chase card. Well, they have two, but one of them is a Chase card that they have. That's similar to the Southwest card. I think the good thing about the Amazon card, specifically that Chase one, is that when you utilize it, you get so many points toward a discount on. You can use those points as discounts on stuff you buy from Amazon. So I would say for this, Tiffany, if you had the Amazon card and you spend a lot of money on Amazon, then it's an amazing card because it still is it's a Visa, it's still a Chase Visa card for Amazon, but the plus about it is you get a lot of points. And I know we went crazy on Amazon stuff. I think because we would get something in the mail like every other day from Amazon or something. I'm like, what are we doing? We going crazy over here with this Amazon stuff. But if you spend a lot of money there, then it makes sense to have the card, right? Because you're going to get so many points off, and you're going to be able to utilize those points to buy more things. So it's going to, in fact, make your purchases of Amazon cheaper if it's something you use a lot. Now, if you're not using that or not, like I'm not a PayPal fan because I had that one, and it didn't really offer a lot. But the Amazon one, I think that does. If you're gonna spend a lot on Amazon, it's gonna benefit you. If you're not, then I say look for one that's gonna help you either with your flights or your vacations or something. Look for one of those. So we're down to the last few minutes. So if you guys have some more questions, you can pop them in. Again, it's a lot of ways. Right, it's a lot of things that you can really utilize to just better understand your finances. But don't always think of credit cards as something negative. They're really not negative. You just have to have a little better approach to how you use them. They're not just something you just take and just spend a bunch of money on it because you don't have the money. You have to think of it more like a tool that you can use. So if you can buy something on a credit card and then you can send the money to the credit card, then you get points, or they give you $10, or they give you $5, or like American Express, it's always something on American Express that's gonna give you $5, $10 for your groceries. It's always something on there. If you pay for your cell phone with it. Yeah, Capital One does it too. That's true. Yes, it's definitely other ones that do it. But I would say that's the kind of approach you should have to your credit cards. You just start paying for stuff with your credit cards when you have the money in your hand, and then just pay the credit card with it. And then just get the benefit of it. Because sometimes you're just going to pay for it and you're going to get $10 back. And it just cost you $10 less just because you use the card. Plus you got some points for it that go towards something else. So it's just important to get as strategic as you can when it comes to your finances. You got to know how much money you have. So the quick recap, you got to know how much money you have, know how much money you have coming in, knowing what you have to spend your money on, which means knowing what your debt costs you, knowing what's discretionary versus mandatory, which we talked about. Mandatory being, this is something you have to pay, and you can't, you don't have it. You almost have no impact on the amount that you have to pay at that point without like a refinance or something. That's typically a mandatory expense versus a discretionary expense is what you're spending on fast food and what you're spending on gas and what you're spending on groceries and different things like that, where you have an opportunity to make changes to the fundamental money that you have. I mean, you can make change. You don't have to spend all that money. You can figure out other ways to spend that money in a more effective way. And we talked briefly about saving. It's important to save money. Build a discipline to save money, even if it's a smaller amount, because you're going to be a better spender if you do. And then look into that Robinhood app. It's a great app. If you want to start your investing, you want to look at exchange trade funds, bonds, and stocks, that's where you start. You can start with $10. You can start spending $5 a month investing in stock and just end up spending $60 in a year and try to make money that way. And it's those exchange trading funds are usually larger funds on there. If you look up those on Robinhood, they're larger funds. They might be the S&P. They may be the Dow Jones. They may have a fund that's all of those stocks together. And instead of you trying to figure out each stock you want to buy, you can just buy the whole fund and watch the fund go up, or hopefully don't watch it go down, because you might. But if you only put $5 in, you may not be as upset. And then we kind of talked about our credit card stuff. Just make sure you're really aware of what you spend, and make sure you know what you have, know what these things offer you. Because like I said, they're not all bad. They're only bad when you use them the wrong way. Then they could be destructive. But if you use them properly, you'll be able to have some success with your finances. So again, it's 7:03, so I think we're getting to the end of this. Again, we appreciate everybody for coming out, and everybody, hopefully you picked up something out of this class that you can take with you. And hopefully, and if you have any other questions, you can just go to the Frontline webpage, and the Frontline Facebook page, and you can probably post your questions under this video, and maybe when we see it, we'll be able to get them and try to respond to them. So again, I thank you all for coming out, and you guys have a blessed day.